Coming to you from a What-a-Burger drive-thru, I'm RJ Balde, and this is the TRICHOMES Hashitout podcast. On this show, we feature conversations about trending cannabis topics. We also bring in industry insiders and influencers to discuss their point of view. In this episode, I'll be talking to Laganja Estranja about activism and the sense of community in the cannabis industry. We'll also talk about how Laganja avoids pigeonholes to pursue various passions, the secret to influencing, and much, much more. Without further ado, it's time to hash it out. My guest today is a world-renowned illusionist, content creator, choreographer, musical artist, performer, and passionate cannabis and LGBTQ plus advocate. Welcome to the show, Laganja Estranja. Thank you so much. I'm so stoked to talk to you today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me. I can't wait to hash it out.
Yeah, let's do it. Now, first of all, where are you joining us virtually from today?
I'm joining you from, well, it's actually not sunny today, Los Angeles, California.
Okay, got you. Okay, so we're in the same realm. I'm in Orange County.
Is it sunny over there today?
Let me look. It's kind of overcast, I think, America, the American atmosphere is very much in the balance, and the skies reflect that today.
Okay.
So it's kind of like the sun is trying to peek through the clouds, but we're still waiting on the final count, if you know what I mean.
Exactly. I do know what you mean.
How has your year been? I know it's a loaded question this year more than any other year, but how has your year been going so far now that we're in November?
I'm very lucky that I am a talented person, a resilient person, a person who doesn't give up easily. So while this year has been a struggle, it's actually been a really great year for me. I've learned a lot about myself and a lot about, the type of art I want to be making and the ways in which I financially support myself. And I think quarantine really forced me to follow my passion, which is, being a choreographer, being a set designer, being all of these other things that are outside of the drag queen world. So, I'm really grateful. I've seen so many friends have to leave LA, people lose their jobs. I mean, there have been just horrible things happening all around me, and I just feel really grateful and humbled by the fact that I'm still here as a queer entertainer, making money, paying my rent, and not giving up on myself.
I love that. Yeah, it's the events of the year, the pandemic, the quarantine lifestyle. I've been similar to you in that I've been trying ever since March to find reasons to be grateful for what's going on, because it's sometimes it's so easy to overdose on the poison of bad news and the feeling of despair. So in those moments in particular, it's even more important to remember that there are still blessings around us, right? Like, for example, we're in a pandemic time, but here you and I still have the chance in our own health. Thank the Lord that we have the opportunity to sit here and talk about what's going on and have a virtual human connection, even though we can't do it in person. If anything, it makes me glad that we're living through this pandemic in 2020 rather than like 1800.
Absolutely.
But yeah, so for those listening who may not be aware, let's just catch up the folks out there real quick. So just really briefly going over some of your history here. You're a Dallas, Texas native, if I have that correct.
That's correct.
And a graduate of the California Institute of Arts class of 2011 with a BFA in dance and choreography and the distinct honor of being a U.S. presidential scholar in the arts. So how long did you live in Dallas, and then when did you move to California?
So I grew up my whole adolescent life in Texas, and I moved to California when I was probably around 18, 17. I was a senior in high school in 2007, and I moved out here to get my degree in dance and choreography and have just never left.
I love that. And when you moved out to California, were you with anyone? Were you riding solo?
I actually did have a boyfriend at the time. I met
Oh,
someone in Texas right as I was graduating high school, and we totally fell in love. And he was
hmm.
originally from Mission Viejo, actually, out by
Okay.
you. And so when I moved out here to go to college, he came out here with me and lived in his car for the first couple of months, and then eventually got a job and a place. And we lasted together in our relationship 5 years. We almost made it through all of college, but unfortunately, we did not end up staying together. But
Mm.
so far, the only love of my life. Yeah.
Okay. Okay. Well, I mean, even if it didn't work out, it's I'm sure there's a sense of gratitude that you didn't have to go on that journey alone. Because I could imagine, at 18, that must have been a big move for you at that point in your life.
It was definitely a big shift, and yes, having him there made it, all the more magical because it was really
Mm,
the first time in my life that I was experiencing life without my parents.
sure.
And I was very much a goody two shoes. I'm a Capricorn, so I'm a very hard worker. I got all A's. I had a 4.0. I was very, my parents were high school counselors for 30 plus years. So
Wow.
education was very important to our family.
Hmm.
But not saying I didn't take my education as serious in college, but I didn't take my education as serious in college. And, I got to have a good time and dye my hair neon red and discover,
Right.
my sexuality more and my gender identity and, discover who Laganja was and create a drag character. And these are all things
Mm.
that I probably would have never done had I continued to stay in Texas.
Now, why do you think that is? Does it have to do with, just the vibe in Texas? It some maybe, for some people it doesn't exactly encourage that sort of self-exploration?
Yeah, I think that's part of it for sure. I think, like I was mentioning earlier, the thing for me was being out of my parents,
Ah.
eyesight, being able to really feel like, I could make my own choices and they wouldn't necessarily, be able to dictate how my
Mhm.
behavior should look or be. And
Gotcha.
I think that was really what it was, is because, even to this day, I care so much about what my parents think. And
Mm.
I look up to them and love them. And I'm so grateful for all that they've taught me. So I want to be able to show them, like, look, you should be proud.
Yeah.
But with that, I've ultimately discovered I have to be myself, which is why my next single that I'm about to drop on November 30th, Daddy, is very sexual and very over the top and not something that they're totally, on board for. But at the end of the day, I think I found that healthy balance of still, making them proud, but being myself, authentically always.
Gotcha. Yeah. I had um a similar sort of experience because I come from a really small rural town in Michigan where it was like me and like five other brown people, and we kind of just had each other's backs. And then I moved out to California when I was 20. Um, and yeah, it was a similar sort of thing where I was like, oh, like I don't know. It was kind of just I felt less restricted. I felt less judged and less guilty for I guess seeming a little deviant from the people around me. So yeah, I'm that's nice to hear that you had a similar sort of experience. But you mentioned that you have you said a single coming out called Daddy in this month, later this month.
That's right, November 30th.
Gotcha.
Uh,
Okay.
Thanks to my friend Adam Ill, who I host a show with every Monday night called Misters and Marys. He
Mm-hmm.
actually taught me about 11:30, which is 420, which is weed, and 710, which is dabs. If you
Mm-hmm.
add those two together, you get 11:30. So I decided that's when I would release my single because I am totally a
Ah.
flower and dabber at the same time kind of gal. So
Uh-huh.
I thought it'd be a fun date to push because obviously everyone knows about 420. I think 710 over the last couple of years has been gaining some hype, but now we're really
Yeah.
trying to make 11:30 happen. Okay,
I
what,
like it.
what you know
I
about
get I can get down with 11:30.
right?
Yeah. I'm usually miss 420, but I could be there for 11:30.
Okay, exactly. Exactly. So yeah, I'm working on it literally right now. I'm staring at all of our diagrams and forms we have created. We're
Hmm.
right now aiming for 12 looks, which is just kind of outrageous and a lot to take on, but
Wow.
My team and I are incredibly resilient and very excited about this. And so, yeah, we're filming it next weekend, and the video and the single will drop on the 30th. I can tell you it's a very sexual song for anyone out there who's feeling the frustrations of quarantine. This
Mm.
will be something to turn you on for sure.
Mm. We could all use a release right now, couldn't we?
Okay.
Now, I want to ask you about that because is that song part of the album that you said you've been working on? I think in an interview with HollywoodLife.com, you said you've been working on an album for the past 2 years. Is that part of that, or is this a completely separate
So that's a good
sort of project?
question because it's something that we're toying with right now. Um, what I can tell you is that I have 3 singles that are going to be coming out before I drop my album. I
Okay.
don't know if those 3 singles will eventually be on the album or if they're just going to be singles, but I have 3 songs, including Daddy is one of them, that will be dropping before I release Hyconic, which is the full album. Uh,
Mm.
and so, yeah, we'll see. Originally, it was going to be a 5-song EP, and I was going to have Look at Me and Smoke Break, which I've released previously
Hmm.
on the album Hyconic. But now I think we're thinking of, creating a whole new album. So it hasn't been confirmed yet, but I'm talking to a record label. So we're
Oh.
hoping that something is going to go down really soon, and that I can really take this music to the next level because it's something that I've been very passionate about. I grew up in musical theater, so incorporating song into what I do has been something I love. Um, and always wanted to do, but it
Mm.
is very difficult. Music is very expensive, and that's why I was only able to really produce 1 song a year since I came off Drag Race in 2014.
Hmm.
But now that we've been shopping for labels and getting in there, I really have high hopes that I'm going to be able to do my ultimate goal, which is basically be the Missy Elliott of drag. That's what I've always wanted to be. So
I love it.
cheers to Hyconic and cheers to Daddy dropping on November 30th and starting this journey.
Yes, indeed. November 30th. Mark your calendars, ladies and gentlemen, and everyone else in between. Yes,
Yes.
indeed. Um, that's awesome. Best of luck to you. I'm so stoked for that. Again, it's so inspiring that you really like put the pedal to the metal on these things that you care about. And you're not letting you know the weight of 2020 stop you.
Absolutely not.
Yeah, I love that. And quick shout out. So this is going to come out after, but at the time that we're recording this, um, the state of American democracy hangs in the balance. We are literally waiting for the final votes of the final states right now. I have a live count here, just like in the corner of my eye, just like keeping an eye on this because Georgia, Pennsylvania, Nevada, they have still yet to report their final ballot counts. So I just also want to give you a quick shout out because on November 2nd, you work with the Future Coalition for an early voting event in West Hollywood called Drag to the Polls. So, can you tell me more about that? How was that for you?
Well, it was really exciting because we got to be with the youth. The Future Coalition, their mission is to, integrate the youth into important topics that maybe they would not be exposed to at their age.
Mm-hmm.
And so, yeah, we had people as young as 14, I believe, out there with us, cheering on people who were dropping off their votes. And, they could come and be socially distanced, take pictures with the queens, and it was just a way to show people how cool voting is in 2020 and that, to celebrate one another, to be there to exercise this right that so many of our brothers and sisters have fought for,
Mm-hmm.
before us to have. And it was great. It was the first time really that I've been able to see other queens, see other sisters of mine and be with
Mm-hmm.
them. And, it made me really excited to see how much the youth does care about our environment, about our political climate, about LGBTQAI plus rights.
Mm-hmm.
When I was their age, I don't know, I was memorizing lines from musicals and playing make believe. Like I didn't have any idea about voting or the importance of that right. And, I just think it's amazing that this history and this knowledge is getting passed down sooner and sooner, because I know I want to be a parent one day. And so
Mm-hmm.
taking note of, watching these families come by and drop off their 18-year-old for the first time to vote and filming them like a proud parent, it just gives me hope. And it makes me think that, yeah, as you said, right now, as we're filming this, we're still hanging in the air knowing who's going to be our president, but I really do have hope that we're going to go towards Biden and go blue.
Yeah, I hope so too. I was really encouraged on Wednesday when the day after the election when Michigan was called. Because
Yes.
again, that's my home state. It went red in 2016, and I never forgave them for it. Uh, but they're
I
working
know
to get back on my good list. So
we were hopeful for Texas there for a second, but
for a second,
I ultimately knew that was never going to happen, baby.
I know, but it was really like a flash in the pan, but I was a fish and I swam toward it and I got
Did
my
you?
hopes up.
I
I did.
in Texas, but I know she's a dirty hoe, so I knew not to count in her, but I am definitely, counting on others, and I
Ugh.
don't know, I believe we have a really good shot. So I have a feeling this is going to be drawn on forever, though. These ratings are incredible for these stations right now. So are you kidding? I think it's
Right.
all. But don't get me started on conspiracy theories and the whole nine yards. I am a cannabis smoker, and I will definitely go down that rabbit hole with you.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it's been great for the election television franchise. The
Of course.
numbers are the election cinematic universe has never been flourishing better than it is now.
Yes, the ratings, as Donald would say, the
uh,
ratings.
Yeah, he'll brag at the end of all of this that he turned the election into like a multi-day television event.
I mean, I don't give him a lot of credit for things, but one thing I will give him credit for is I do believe he woke up a generation of people who are not paying attention to politics. And whether it was because he acted like a complete insane person that woke them up
mhm.
or not is, I mean, in my opinion, not up to debate. But the point is, he did turn people on, including myself. I mean, I definitely, I think, have always been inherently political, but it wasn't until he started running back in, what was it, 2016? Was that
Mhm.
yeah, that,
Mhm.
at that time I really started getting political and learning about politics and trying to use my platform for change. And, that was directly because of him and because he was such an evil person. And I didn't want someone like that to run our nation.
Mm.
So, I don't know if giving him credit for that's a good thing, but it is the truth. He really did get a bunch of people awake into this. And I at
Yeah.
least always try to find the positive in life and like you said, something to be grateful for. And as I stood there with those kids of Future Coalition, it was just like, well, this is great. And this is something positive that came out of a really negative 4 years.
Yeah. Totally. And it's so great again that you were at that event, um, and you were connecting with the youth, the next generation of voters, um, to really be there to guide them and to mentor them into the process. Because like you said, I feel like this generation is more, or I'm sorry, the new generation is so much more plugged in to what's going on in the political system, in the environment, societal structures. They're so much more in tune to what's going on than our generation was. Because like you said, I was similar to where I was also memorizing musical lyrics, or like watching cartoons or just like running around outside in the woods. I wasn't really at that age plugged into what's going on. So that's so awesome that you were there to, really help guide the next generation of voters into the process and show them how their vote and their voice and their beliefs matter and they count too. So yeah.
Absolutely. And I don't know. I feel like you got to find the balance too, because as you were saying that, it's like I am so grateful that my parents did sort of allow me to grow up in a bubble, because then becoming an adult I really got to form my own opinions on things.
Right.
But I do think there is a balance. And teaching the youth about voting and the importance of that and the suffragette movement and just everything, I
Mm.
think is important. And I do think that's something that you do want to pull the veil back on, and you do want to explain to someone at a young age, so that when they're our age, they really do care, and it's just a part of their makeup.
Mm-hmm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know. I just think it's about balance too, right? Because kids should still be able to be kids
Oh,
and not
sure.
have
Yeah.
to worry about Trump and all of that and feel the huge weight that all of us are feeling right now,
Right.
But
Right.
it is amazing to see, that the youth does care. I mean, I'm a TikToker now. I can't believe I say that at 31 years old, but I'm a TikToker. And the way that these kids were using TikTok,
Oh my
it
gosh,
was
I
like
know.
unbelievable, really. I mean, some of it, of course, was hysterical, but probably not appropriate. Like, I don't know if you saw any of the people who would like drive by the rallies with megaphones and
Oh
scream
yeah,
hateful things. I mean,
sure.
hysterical, but also like, okay, well, I don't know that I want my child to do that either. So that's why I think it's about finding the balance. But I do think it's amazing that the youth is tapped in, they're using their social media, and they're not being silenced.
Yeah, I totally agree. I totally agree. It's definitely about the balance of, because we love to say that, the children are the future, the next generation is the future, but that's a big, weight to put on a whole ass generation of kids who are just trying to like be kids and go through the tribulations of being a kid and going to school and dealing with, social structures in school, going through puberty. And then on the top of all of that, you have to say like, it's all up to you, which it is, but it's a lot of weight. So it definitely is about that, striking that sort of balance. So yeah, I totally agree with you. Now, speaking of mentorship here, so just shifting into speaking specifically about cannabis here. Let's I want to sort of like draw these two topics together. So um Alyssa Edwards, whom you worked alongside in the Netflix documentary Dancing Queen, for those of you look it up on Netflix. Alyssa Edwards is your drag mother. So for those who may not know, can you first explain just what a drag mother is?
Sure. So a drag mother is different for everybody,
Mm-hmm.
but in general, what a drag mother is someone who guides a younger queen
Mm-hmm.
into the world of drag. So they show you how to do makeup, they get your body together, they help you with your performance, they connect you with clubs, and it's much like a family, there's dinners and there's expectations, and the drag daughter will do things for the drag mother, because of seniority, and that's how that works. And so, in many ways, it is like a sorority house, where there, is a group of people who all fall under a leader, and there's a similar way of thinking and dressing and vibing. But
Sure.
again, queer people are all different, and so every house,
Sure.
every family is going to be different and have a different set of rules and a different way of operating. And sometimes there's drag fathers, and not drag mothers, which would be, generally a gay male who doesn't get in drag, but maybe, let's say, is a designer or is a makeup artist or is somehow involved in that world, but has that nurturing, caring, wanting to bring others up with them energy. And so then they are
Mm,
thus the drag father. So
right.
either way, in my situation, yes, Alyssa did become my drag mother. In the beginning, she was someone who employed me as a dance teacher. So I worked for Justin Johnson at Beyond Belief for almost 10 years. But through the process of RuPaul's Drag Race and Justin coming out to not only me as a staff member, but his students, the mothers, that he was a drag queen, of course, I, being the gay person that I am, fell into it all, wanted to do it myself. And thus, he began to help guide me on that journey to becoming a drag queen. Now, he lives in Mesquite, Texas, and I live in Los Angeles,
Mm-hmm.
California. So
Mm-hmm.
it was hard because it wasn't like we were together all the time. And he couldn't really, necessarily teach me a lot of things that many drag mothers do.
Right.
But yeah, it was amazing. And then eventually, the House of Edwards became a thing, which is Alyssa and I and Shangela, and now Plastique.
Mm-hmm.
Gia was also invited into it at one point, so it grew, it changed, much like Destiny's Child or any of these girl groups out there.
Yeah.
Members come, members go, fights happen, but
Sure.
ultimately it is a family. And I really do thank the House of Edwards when Shangela and Alyssa and I toured the world together for getting people to come back on my side, because when I got off season 6, most people in America found me to be annoying and weren't necessarily my number one fan.
Mm.
But Alyssa and Shangela were these huge, and still are, breakout stars from the series that people just loved and adored. So
Mm-hmm.
when they put their name, on me and said, but hey, he's amazing and look at this talent and da 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 da,
Mm-hmm.
it gave people a chance to really see me. And I think that was kind of the start of me rebranding and coming back into people's, regular vocabularies, as we have seen. My
Sure.
catchphrases have gone everywhere now. So it's interesting how people's perspective changed of me because of my drag family, which I'm very
Mm.
grateful for.
I love that. I love that. That's yeah. I always love hearing about that, about drag families, because it like you said, it's very much a seniority. It's a family of people supporting one another and guiding each other through this space and standing up for one another too. Um, on your season of RuPaul's Drag Race, you did at times sort of face a stigma, being an open cannabis advocate and cannabis user on the show. So in tying those two together, did you have any, I guess, quote unquote, cannabis mothers to help you guide through or guide you through the cannabis space? And if not, what or to whom did you rely on to sort of to navigate you through dealing with stigma, working in the cannabis industry, and just in general?
Well, I see what you're trying to do here with the tie, cannabis mothers, and yes, I actually did. It was the female community amongst the cannabis industry that
Mm-hmm.
actually kept me going, and the reason why I'm still going today. It's people like Dr. Dina, Allie from the Hepburns, who I actually partnered with, and we released our own collaboration of joints and sold that here in Los Angeles at dispensaries
Yeah.
where I went in full drag and did meet and greets. I mean, that was amazing, and that was all because of a woman-led company.
Yeah.
I want to think of other people who've really pulled me into the industry, but I can tell you they've all been female. Really, the only
Okay.
person that comes to mind right off the bat, who's a male, is my friend Adam Ill, who I mentioned earlier, who I have the regular Monday night show where we stream live on Twitch called Misters and Marys. We've known each other now for over 5 years, and he was the first straight person in the industry to really put his arm around me and say, I think what you do is cool. I think that your art is valid, and I'm going to tell all these bros to chill out and be your friend. And, I'm very, very grateful to him. And that's kind of the point of our show. It's all about bringing the straight and queer community together, one blunt at a time, if you will.
Oh, I love that. I love that. That's awesome. I'm you have such a unique perspective being in, all of these worlds. So for you, what is the importance just generally of having a strong sense of community and building a sense of community um, in the cannabis space specifically? Because I feel like personally that the cannabis industry, sometimes I don't even like saying the word cannabis industry. I like the phrase cannabis community even better, because for me, it really does feel like a community, especially if you contrast it to other industries, if you will. How important is that sense of community for you?
Well, I think community is everything. I mean, as a queer person, if it wasn't for my community, I would be depressed and potentially dead somewhere. So, I think community is what makes people thrive and what allows us to be our best selves when we're in a group of people that make us feel loved. I think that's what everybody wants. Everyone wants to feel like they belong somewhere. So, for me, community is so important in the cannabis industry because I don't think there is a lot of safe space in the community for queer people. I think it is changing. I think it's different for every state. California is a lot more bro than Colorado, but I still think homophobia exists in Colorado. I just don't think it maybe looks or feels the same as it does out here in California. So that's just something, though, that I've noticed no matter where I've gone, is that the industry, to me, is still very much an industry.
Sure.
I hear you on the community part. I want to believe that. I believe
Mm-hmm.
that's how it started and how it will end.
Mm-hmm.
But I think right now we're seeing money, and money makes people do crazy things. And companies that have been around for years and years are getting bought out, and the people that are buying them out are not really caring so much about the quality of the product, or the point of the product, which to me is that this is medicine, and we should be trying to push that forward and break the stigma so that we can get this federally recognized. I mean, we've seen already how many states went green this year, which was amazing.
Yeah,
But
totally.
I just think there's still so much work that needs to be done. And I think that's why ultimately, as much as there is a community and the users are really of like-mindedness,
Hmm.
I still think the people in charge are someone we need to keep a close eye on, and someone we need to be questioning, and making sure that they are standing up for people of color, and that they are standing up for women, and that they are standing up for queer people, and that they are
Hmm.
donating back to organizations like the Last Prisoner Project, which is working to free every single person who is still currently in jail for a cannabis arrest only, to
Hmm.
get out, and then to be able to receive social equity. And these are the kinds of things we really need to be focused on. And I feel like overall as an industry, like I said, we are moving there, but people are really trying to make money, especially during quarantine. I mean, I've
Hmm.
just seen all kinds of things being pumped out, which is why I'm very grateful for the companies that I'm working with, because I know that their messaging aligns with mine.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. Is that um, there is a fear. I do have a fear that the community feeling surrounding cannabis it is and can be erased by, like you said, these big players who are just worried more about profits and not even product quality. They just see green, but by green they mean dollars rather than the actual flower from the earth that we all enjoy. um, do you think that, given the test of time, that the players in the cannabis industry that aren't there for the right reasons and aren't bringing up the marginalized communities that are underrepresented in the cannabis industry, do you think they'll eventually, pun included, get weeded out?
Hmm. Um, I think bad people always prevail. Unfortunately,
Oh no.
I wish I didn't think that, but as someone who's been in the entertainment industry in California, in Hollywood for the last 14 years,
Hmm.
I just think people who are willing to do things that are not so nice, or don't really, help others get ahead. And do I want that to change? Absolutely. Do I want the the racism to change? Absolutely. Do I think it's going to? Of course. I have to have hope that it's going to, or what's the point of living, right? But do I think they're ever going to get weeded out like completely? I don't know. I think that rich, powerful people have dug their heels so fiercely into the concrete that it's going to take a lot of bulldozing and like jackhammering to like really get them out.
Mm.
And I do think it's possible. I do, of course.
Hmm.
But I don't know. I guess as much as hopeful as I am, I'm always realistic. And that's why it's like I'd rather acknowledge the fact that bad people are always going to be at the top. But it's our job to get as many good people as we can surrounding them, and believing that we can take that person over.
Right, and hold them accountable.
Right. Well,
Yeah.
that's what I mean. If they're then surrounded by all these amazing, talented, good people, right, they are going to be held to a higher standard. And then who knows, maybe you're able to change them from being bad people to good people, because I do believe in that. I definitely believe people can change and grow. But again, it's just my experience here in Hollywood. I've just seen a lot of bad stuff, and I've had a
Mm.
lot of friends do mean things to me to get ahead. And,
Yeah.
so it does make
Yeah.
you jaded a little bit, I think.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel that too. So you appeared on season 15 of So You Think You Can Dance, and of course, season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race. I understand that you've since stated that you wouldn't be open to returning to the Drag Race franchise or to compete so as not to be, pigeonholed. So, in that same vein, can you tell me about your experiences with resisting pigeonholes in your life, and specifically in the world of cannabis, where there is, we've made much progress in changing the image of a cannabis user, but it's not completely changed. There are still people out there that have that reefer mindedness, stoner, image of cannabis.
I think I just do it naturally because I am doing so many different types of things all the time. It's
Sure.
very hard to pigeonhole me because people want to say, oh, well, he's a drag queen. And they're like, really? Because I saw him on So You Think You Can Dance as a boy.
Right.
And then someone will be like, oh, well, he's a dancer. And then the other person will be like, really? Because he choreographed that.
Right.
Or, oh, well, he's a singer. Really? Because this sounds like rap to me. So, like, it's very hard to pigeonhole me because naturally who I am. I just grew up in musical theater, which encourages you to act, dance, and sing. So already at a young age, I had an idea of what being a triple threat was. And
Mm.
this was something I became obsessed with. I wanted to be a multifaceted, talented artist because to me, when I looked at all these old Hollywood movies and, Fred Astaire and Ginger Rogers and
Yeah.
Bob Fosse and
Mm.
just all these people that I grew up truly admiring and loving, they were so talented in many different areas. Nowadays people can just be pretty and take a selfie and boom, they're famous.
Hmm.
We don't really encourage artists, in my opinion, to be multi-talented. If they can sing, perfect, that's good enough. If they can dance, that's good, we'll have them do that. Like there's not this idea of being well-rounded and being able to do it all. And to
Mm.
me, that's what I love. That's what I appreciate. I just get so inspired by people who can conduct their own musical themselves. And so
Yeah.
that's what I've I guess tried to push myself to do. And because of that, like I said, it's very hard to pigeonhole me. I'm not one thing. I'm not just a cannabis activist. I'm not just a drag queen. I'm all of it. So I think I just got lucky in that I really like a lot of different things and want to explore a lot of different things and get bored very easily. So I need a lot of a lot of varying uh, variables in my life.
Sure. Yeah. I'm the same way. I can find myself getting bored if I'm doing the same thing um, over and over. And it's so great because, yeah, I totally agree with you that I feel like, just the societal standard in our country, just it sort of naturally moves people into the direction and into the idea that you have to be one thing. Like you have to have one job, um, and you have to stay with that job until you retire. And you know, it's there's this. I guess there's this sort of stigma that prefers specialists over generalists. Um, and that's something that I think I heard that on some TED talk or something. I don't even know, but but like that's sort of a flawed. I feel like sort of flawed way of thinking because that lends itself specifically to the idea of pigeonholing people into one thing. So I think it's great that you had that realization early on enough in your life that you don't have to be one thing. You don't have to be pigeonholed into one specific interest or one specific passion in your life. You know, life is too big of an adventure to limit yourself to one menu item. That's what I think.
Agreed.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, and I'm cheap, so I'm gonna go off the dollar menu and I'm gonna try four things. You
Oh,
know what I
straight up.
mean?
Oh, straight up. My first few years, I mean, and even still, you know what I mean? Like the nature of being an entertainer means that financially it's a roller coaster.
Oh,
So I am always prepared with a drawer of Del Taco coupons
yeah,
ready.
can't go wrong.
Right on. So you're also part of an online mini series called the Drag Queen Mukbang. So speaking of eating, um, that series also features Patrick Starr, Gia Gunn, Eugene Lee Yang, and is sponsored by Jack Daniel's new brand Tennessee Fire.
Yeah.
Based on your experiences, how does working with alcohol brands compare to working with cannabis brands?
Oh, honey, it's night and day.
I can
Night and
imagine.
day. I will work for an alcohol company any day over a cannabis company. I mean,
See?
They've been in it for years and years. It's just
They have
more
a science.
official. I mean, there's just so much more behind it, and
Mm,
quite honestly, the respect that we are garnered in that community is just way more than we are in the cannabis industry. I mean, it's just night and day. I mean,
mm.
truly. You know,
And
so
so do you think that just comes down to how the alcohol industry has had so many years to establish itself, and really come down to a science of how they want to um, market their products?
I think alcohol companies realize the importance of the gay dollar. Period.
Okay,
I
okay.
think that, gay bars have had partners with alcohol companies since the beginning.
Right.
So I just think that alcohol companies really recognize the importance of community and the importance of reaching out to disenfranchised communities. And
Mm,
I really do. I think that's what it comes down to. I would love to say that it's like, oh, it's this love and it's this, but no, I've just learned everything is a business move. Everything is, I mean, you can
mm.
dress it up, you can say it's this and that, but it's all business. And so instead of fighting that, I just acknowledge that. So I just think it will take time for the cannabis industry to realize, like, oh wow, like, well, if we actually look at our profits, that this amount of our profits was from gay people, like what if we actually pumped that up? I think
Right.
that way of thinking is going to come. It's just that we haven't been doing this long enough, and those you know like research studies haven't been done. and i
Totally.
don't and I don't know what it will take for that, but it will. Trust me, it will, because at one point those alcohol companies weren't pitching to gay people either, but
Hmm.
then they realized gay bars was another venue that they could get their alcohol into, and they made those connections, and here we are years later now, and they're hiring drag queens every year. So I do believe we'll get there, and I hope we get there because they actually care about the queer community, and because specifically here in California we wouldn't have even had Proposition 215 if we didn't have the queer community. I mean, they were the
Exactly.
ones that fought for that bill, which is also known as the Compassionate Act, because they were
Exactly.
showing compassion to their brothers and sisters who were experiencing HIV and AIDS and needed to get an alternative medicine.
Hmm.
So, I have hope for sure, like I said, that we're going to get there. But I won't be surprised if we get there because it's a business move. Just
Yeah.
saying. Just saying.
Totally. Totally. Yeah. And it's so weird because um something that cannabis industry folks, or whatever you want to call them, something that people who enjoy cannabis love to say, is that everyone from every walk of life enjoys cannabis, right? It's
Right.
not for one specific person. And but it's this weird contrast then to say that, and then to look at the cannabis industry and see how underrepresented like so
Then you
many.
have hot girls in bikinis smoking weed for Ignite.
Right.
And you're
Yeah.
like, huh, I wonder who that's for.
Exactly that. Yeah. Exactly that. And like dispensaries, like you'll walk into a dispensary and you're like, "Oh, wow, for some reason like it's like a Hooters in here." Like there's
I've
like.
never been to that.
You've never been to that? Oh
Where is
man.
this dispensary?
Oh man, I don't wanna upset any listeners out there, but after we're done rolling, I'll give you some names. I'll give you some names
Okay.
because there's a few in Orange County that I'm like, what
Oh, I'm
is?
never out there, so that's why.
Okay, yeah. I don't have a lot of experience with LA dispensaries,
Okay.
but yeah, there are some Orange County dispensaries that I'm like, wow, what's going on in here?
Right. Whatever they got to do to move the product.
Yeah, dude, like I'm just trying to get an eighth real quick, but okay. I guess I guess I'm also here
Let's
for
hope
a.
that's by their choice.
Yeah, I guess so. Um so you are um as we've spoken about throughout our conversation today, a multifaceted individual, not to be pigeonholed. You are a performer, a choreographer, musical artist, drag queen, all of the above, advocate, um, and an influencer, which is a broad, weird term, but you're an influencer. You continue to work with major brands in various avenues, from, again, alcohol to cannabis to beauty and makeup. So my last question for you is, in a world of algorithms, instant gratification, short attention spans, and endless amounts of content to consume online, what do you think is the secret to actually influencing someone or encouraging a community to act upon something?
Being yourself.
Mm.
It sounds so simple and so cheesy, but it is the truth. And it's something I'm working on every single day. I mean, not to bring it back to my music video that's dropping on November 30th, Daddy, but
Hey.
that is really, one of my biggest things. I've always feared being overtly sexual in the public eye, even
Mm.
though that is who I am. At 14 years old, I grew up looking at cabaret. I mean, that was my favorite musical at 14 years old. So
Mm.
I've always grown up with this love of sexuality, but I've been so scared to put it out. So even though drag queens are supposed to be this pillar of like, we accept ourselves and we are this like beacon of hope for the community, even we struggle with that. I
Mm.
mean, I think that's just innately inherent to who we are as human beings. We struggle and we question ourselves,
Right.
But that being said, I feel like it's just about being authentic.
Mm.
And at the end of the day, the products that I'm promoting, I really like them. I really use them. I mean, like the Moose Labs, it's like I believe in that. I
Mm-hmm.
need a filter for my cannabis so that my lungs are protected. I mean, that's
Mm-hmm.
just the truth. And the fact of the matter is, they're a great company and they really do care about the LGBTQ community. And that's why they're, bringing me on month after month to continue to talk about them. So I just try to A, partner with people who I really believe in their product, and B, that can be followed up with, are they good people? What is their messaging behind their product? What does their staff look like? Do they have diversity on their team?
Mm.
And then C, it's all about trying to be yourself than to give that product out, which is very hard, obviously. And I'm not even going to lie to you. There's been moments during quarantine where I feel like a glorified ad agency. And I'm like, I didn't pay, or have my parents pay rather, $50,000 a year to get a dance degree so that now I could sell whatever the product was?
Right. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, also, I have to be grateful and say, but thank God I have these companies that see my influence and that want me to do this, and that
Mm-hmm.
even during the pandemic I can still be a working queer person in the industry. So again, not to bring it full circle, but it's just, that's really my biggest belief in life, is it's all about looking at the good. And you
Mm.
know what? So what if big business moves in and decides to make the money to go towards the gay dollar because it's a business decision? Yes, that's sad. Yes, that sucks. But at the end of the day, are we going to be able to then be recognized and move forward and make new ground and change the world? Yes, we are. So at some point, it's like, you have to give a little to gain a lot.
Oh, I
And
love
I,
that.
I think that's that's what it is for being an influencer. You have to give a lot
Mm.
actually to be an influencer. I mean, these videos take hours, not only to film, but then to edit and try to get up on a regularly schedule,
Yep.
which shout out to Transformation Thursdays, every Thursday on my YouTube channel at 4:20. But it takes a lot of commitment to be an influencer and to be a good one. And it is something that I'm working on every day, and I make mistakes constantly, and I just don't try to hide those. And I think that's, to me at least, the kind of influencer I want to be around and I want to be, because the ones who are perfect and take the picture and it's the crest white strips and their teeth are perfect and all that, I'll just never be that. I just know that.
Right.
I'm a stoner, I'm a sexual freak, I am an artist, I am colorful, I am vibrant, and those companies that want that authentic voice are hopefully going to continue to seek me out. And if they don't, then, I create my own content and I keep pushing that.
Absolutely. Well, Laganja, we love you just the way that you are.
Oh, thank you.
I thank you so much for your perspective, for the passion that you bring into every damn thing that you do. And Laganja Estranja, thank you so much for being generous with your time and sitting down and offering your perspective again. I really appreciate the conversation. And please continue to be well and continue all the rad work that you're doing.
Well, thank you. Thank you again for having me here and telling my story. And I really appreciate it. And I look forward to hashing it out with you again soon.
Yes, indeed. The next Hash It Out we'll do, we'll do it at El Phoenix. How about that? We'll just rent out the place.
Hey, sign me up.
All right, we'll do it. We'll have a Tex-Mex sesh. How's that?
I'm there.
All right, I'll meet you there then. Probably in like 2032 or something. But we'll make it work.
Absolutely.
My thanks again to the illustrious Laganja Estranja for joining me. If you are a member of the cannabis community and have a story you want to share with us, we would love to hear from you. You can reach the show at hashitout@TRICHOMES.com. You can help others find the show by taking a moment to subscribe to the podcast and write a review. You can also join the discussion with industry insiders and get your voice heard by joining the community at TRICHOMES.com and following us on all social media. Hash It Out is produced by David Fortin and presented by TRICHOMES.com. I'm RJ Balde. Thanks for listening.